something I really like about depth writers is that they're poetic. And often when you're reading depth psychology literature, you feel like you're reading prose. Like, I think that these people who are writing, they're not trying to sound super smart, or I mean, not, they sound smart. They're not trying to sound super rigorous and academic, and they're willing to like dabble in the artsy side of writing about psychology. And that's like so fun. And it's why I've read so many depth psych books in particular, because they're like entertaining you with even the way that they are writing. And I also think it's appropriate because depth psych is an artful therapy, and it definitely sees therapy more as an art. You know, it's also a science, but you're an artist as a therapist. This is a little clip from some of the notes I used to take when I was in class, because I would tend to make my notes really artsy too, trying to sort of get the information, but also like, I don't know, like draw what I was feeling at the time, because everything kind of elicits something different in you. It includes everything. It includes what inspires us. It includes like where art comes from. And so Freud really didn't like that Jung thought that way and felt very challenged by that. So they had like a professional breakup. And I would say the depth psych really stems from what came of Jung's work after that breakup happened. Another thing that's really core to depth psych is that we're thinking a lot in terms of things that came before in humanity and society, like ancient traditions and mythology and symbolism and things that humans have kind of always had this. And since we've started documenting things, we've had this imagery, and like there's an influence, generally speaking, that has on us, whether we realize it or not. And I think that focus on the whole and the collective, as well as the individual, is beautiful and really in alignment with a lot of Indigenous values too, like seeing yourself as part of the world around you and not apart from it, seeing yourself as a part of nature. And not just that, but also like seeing every plant, every human, even every inanimate object as like this inextricable part of the world, you know, and something that has energy in it. Even objects like have energy. A great work of art is like a dream. For all its apparent obviousness, it does not explain itself and is always ambiguous. A dream never says you ought or this is the truth. It presents an image in much the same way as nature allows a plant to grow. And it is up to us to draw the conclusions. So dreams are like little art pieces, you know, that your brain painted for you. And sometimes they're harrowing and scary or bad and elicit a lot. And that's like art. Sometimes you listen to a song and you just like are like, oh my God, never play that again. I feel like that happens with our dreams too. I love this quote. This is my favorite musician, Conor Oberst. I drew this like back in high school or something, but the scales always find a way to level out. Like, that's so true. I mean, with everything, you know, even if it takes so many years for it to happen, I do think that, like, generally speaking, life is trying to get to a homeostasis. Like, I see my couples trying to do it all the time. People are trying to get to a balance. It's hard. And a lot of people are really off balance, and that's why they come to therapy. But dreams can really help to point to like where things are out of balance. I like people who yearn. I'm kind of a yearner. Like, I'm just always yearning for something. And so wish fulfillment dreams are fun, I think, because yeah, it's like your unconscious just cheering you on a little bit. Like, hey, this is what you're trying to get to. Your right brain wants to work with your dreams. So you can make art about them, you can play music, you can bake, you can do something that isn't just writing each detail, like, you know, like line after line. I mean, you can do that too and make it like you can do kind of creative writing about your dreams. I'm kind of talking about the process after you've recorded a dream. So you record your dream and it's like this raw voice memo, or it's something you wrote at 3 a.m. when you were like half asleep, right? But then it's living on in you and it won't go away, and you know it wants to get worked with. And like, how do you do that? I think is, yeah, by holding the images and sometimes working with them. Like, if you're a creative person, and even if you're not a creative person, I think actually, especially if you're not a creative person, getting creative about working with your dreams is really important and cool. This picture right here is a collage that I made after a really impactful dream that I had. And I made it out of like a bunch of like notes and old swatches of paint that I was like using in a notebook. And I can see the dream scene that I had when I look at this, but like no one else can. I'm sure no one else even gets this. And so that's what I think is like kind of cool, is that you can build a dream into a song, you can build a dream into a picture, and it's just for you. Like that's not, I didn't make this for anyone else. I ended up giving it to my friend because she really liked it. But like it was about like it was almost like giving the dream some outlet. And so I think especially for those ones that are like lodged in there and won't leave you alone, this can be just some ways to work with it. And you can dance about a dream. I think Lauren just brought this up, that at her school they had a Jungian class that was also like about dancing, which I just think is so awesome because yeah, there's ways to embody your dreams too. Like you could like act out whatever. I mean, there's just so many different ways to process. And people will always want to tell you like, I can't draw, I can't sing, I can't write poetry. Like that's, a lot of people are like that. And I still like to get my clients to draw, even if it's going to suck. Like it's not about the drawing being good. It's about you doing a thing that you don't usually do to try to work with something. So I'm a bit of a pusher. I've accepted that about myself. I'm just pushing people all the time. I'm the Tina Fey. I'm a pusher. I push people. And I like to push people to do stuff like this because obviously there's plenty of people who will push back and be like, no, I'm not going to draw a picture of my dream. But like a lot of people will be like, okay. Like they just almost want you to like be like, come on, just try it. So that's like my plug to, encourage your clients to do something outside their comfort zone or something they think they can't do. But Indigenous like writings have tons of stuff about animal symbolism. And that can be really cool to look up, if you're having like animals coming up in your dreams. Like there's tons of anthropological stuff about mythology and where symbols came up in that. Like there are really cool sources for learning about dream symbolism. I'm not trying to say that there aren't. And it just takes a little bit more like work to find that actual good stuff. Carl Jung was like a big mandala nerd. I have this giant book back here, this red book. That's Carl Jung's book. It's just full of like his drawings and like his cool meanderings through his own unconscious. And two of these pictures on here, or no, this is Man and His Symbols. That's just his book on symbolism, which I think is worth reading. And then he drew this. He drew like so many cool mandalas. I did these too. I think across the board in like cultures around the world, mandalas have just shown up, and they generally are like divided into these 4 quadrants. And there's all kinds of ways to interpret that. But Jung had a whole idea that like you could just draw mandalas and it would help you get more in touch with yourself. I don't know. I mean, I tried it. I'm not sure if it's my thing, but people like mandalas, and they often see them in their dreams in different ways. So I think it's an interesting thing to bring up. If you see them or you have them in your brain. Animals, huge. Like I said, definitely consult the Indigenous people about that. Bridges. Okay. So this is like an example of a symbol that I'm willing to get behind a Google thing, because at the end of the day, you know what a bridge is. Like everyone knows what a bridge is. A bridge is like a bridge isn't like an apple. A bridge connects 2 bodies of land and has a really intentional purpose. And so I think like there are certain symbols like this, they're like, okay, well, that's obvious what that's pointing to, because like if you have a bridge in your dream, I think all of the follow-up questions are gonna be like, did you cross the bridge? Was the bridge sturdy? Is the bridge broken? There's just ways to work with symbols that it's not rocket science. Speaking of the rocket on this page, this is why I just don't think that you have to be like a depth person to work with dreams, because you can look at the symbolism in your clients and your dreams, and like anyone could do that with certain like symbols and a lot of themes that come up too. Yeah, it's not the most connective to reality. And that's the point, is because depressives and like many people are stuck in reality. and then they're like bummed out by it, and they can't imagine, or they have trouble thinking creatively and getting in touch with like their unconscious. And so those are the people who really benefit like from depth work, are more the people who like their default mode network is like really stuck. Whereas people who like, you know, are on the other side of things and like that, like they're on acid all the time, almost like just their brains are like that naturally, like way too open. You don't want to do this with them. I guess a contraindication would be people who just don't care. There's like some people who just don't care, and that's fine. I think it's sad, but especially the ones that have really rich dream lives but just like have zero interest. Like you can't make people care about their dreams. People always change, and the tree metaphor comes back up in this last image I will offer you all, which is just like this picture I took on my 35 millimeter up in Vermont of a tree literally growing through an old abandoned truck. And like that's a full, hardy, just amazing tree against all odds. That little leaf just kept turning towards, you know, the next thing that they knew to aim at. And now it's a whole tree, and it's like amazing. I think that that's cool. Like we can all grow no matter what it seems like on the outside.